Today, I'm going to be playing Terraria, but with a twist. Every time I fight a boss, I have to fight them in a minecart. Now you may be asking me, why am I doing this? I don't really know, but what I do know is that every single boss I beat in this playthrough, I have to beat in a minecart. Now before I get started on the world, you know me, I gotta make my boy Harold. Right off a spawn, you know we gotta do the usual, chop down some trees, we're gonna build a nice little cozy house, and then we're gonna go mining. Now the person you see me playing with right now is my cousin Zeke. You guys will see him occasionally throughout this playthrough as, you know, he's my boy and he's helping me out so that we can progress through the game faster and get to these boss fights quicker. Now because we were playing on master mode, we were doing no damage to enemies. Despite that though, we did get some pretty good loot. We got some lead and actually a pretty decent amount of gold. A lot more than I expected, so that was really good for us. And surprisingly enough, we were able to craft a gold pickaxe after our first mining trip. Then I somehow got the best item in the game. I can look pretty. Oh my goodness! After this, I went and did some general mining. I got some heart crystals, which was pretty sweet. I found a couple magic mirrors. I happened to come across some Hermes boots, which is pretty cool, but not necessary for this run because we're going to be fighting bosses in a minecart. And since it's around the holidays, I did get some presents with some candy cane blocks, so I decided I was going to make a little candy cane addition to the house. And then something unexpected happened. Start placing minecart rails. What? Get ready to fight. So yeah, that didn't work. So I decided I was gonna get myself started on a new minecart track. This one with more of a circular design, going just kind of around the eye, and hopefully because we're moving fast enough in the minecart, the eye would stay in the middle and we can get shots off from the outside. And I was still figuring out minecarts, so there was a little bit I had to work on. So yeah, from the beginning, I knew my minecart track was going to be super inefficient. So I did some research. I went on YouTube, looked up some Terraria minecart guides, and I found this video by this guy, Pop-Up2, which helped me figure out that these bumpers exist that allow you to bounce back and forth while keeping your speed instead of having to regain your speed again. So I added these to my minecart track, and it seemed to make it so much better. So now I think we actually have a chance to take on the Eye of Cthulhu. So I ran, got in my minecart, and I think I'm ready to take on the Eye of Cthulhu. And just like that, on the first normal attempt of the Eye of Cthulhu, we beat him. And actually it ended sooner than it was supposed to because a falling star came down and hit him and took the rest of his health away. So, hey, we'll take that. I did end up fighting him a couple more times just because I wanted to, you know, get as much loot as I could from him, especially Demonite, because right now we're still pretty weak and we could really use that. Next thing I did was I went and sold all of the items that I didn't need from the Eye of Cthulhu fight so I could buy the mini shark. Then I went to the ice biome just so I could get the rest of the heart crystals that I needed because for the next bosses, we were definitely going to need them. Then we went to the corruption to set up for the Eater of Worlds fight. Now, I can't lie, we did fight him a couple times here. That's why you guys already see the minecart built, but we have not beaten him at this point. We've died every time. I forgot to record that part of the playthrough, so that's why I don't have the footage for those fights. But pretty much just to show you guys how it works, the minecart, as you guys can see at the top, the rails, it's pretty much just goes up from where our house is so we can get up top, and then it kind of just goes left and right above so that we can kind of have an advantage and be above the Eater of Worlds as we fight him. So we all got in our minecarts, and we started the fight. And after dropping a lot of gravestones, we finally beat the Eater of Worlds. So what I did next was I headed over to the dungeon and I got ready for the Skeletron boss fight. I built a little house and I started building a different kind of minecart track here just because I wanted to try out some different stuff. But to be honest, it didn't seem to work too well. Wylie, he's coming! Oh! And then I ended up settling on this goofy looking design. Then I started the Skeletron boss fight. And just like that, we took out Skeletron. Now, I decided that now is about time I get the swords together to build the Knight's Edge. So I thought since I just beat Skeletron, let's try and get the Muramasa. So we gotta head to the dungeon. Now, the dungeon in Master Mode is actually pretty difficult, but we did get some good stuff early on, like a magic missile and a shadow key. And I also did find the water bowl, which isn't necessarily too good, but it is still a fun thing to find anyways, and is a pretty cool item. And after a couple more chests, we finally found the Muramasa. And after getting back home, I decided I want to make some more NPC housing so we can get some more NPCs up in here. And you know me, I gotta stick with the candy cane decoration because it just looks too nice. And it's around that time, people. And with the free time that I had, I really wanted to look for the enchanted sword. And it turns out there was a meteor where I was looking by, and it actually helped me find it perfectly. After this, I made my way over to the jungle so that I could get the materials I need to craft the blade of grass. So what I needed was some vines from the man-eaters, some stingers from either the hornets or the spiked jungle slimes, and then finally some jungle spores. And I also found a queen bee spawner, but I'm not going to bother with that for a little bit because I want to gear up just a little bit more. Then I went back home and I crafted the blade of grass. Then I remember I had a gravity potion, so I decided, let's go see if we can find some sky islands. The first thing I found was just a regular cloud with nothing on it. But then I found a house, which had a balloon. Massive find. Then the second one I found also contained a balloon. But then I found one with both a lucky horseshoe and the fledging wings. Now the fledging wings is a huge find before hard mode because one, they give me no fall damage, and they fly way faster than the rocket boots. The next thing I wanted to do was go down to hell and find some hellstone. But first I wanted to find an obsidian skin potion to make my life easier. But while looking for those, I happened to get an obsidian rose from an imp, which is an extremely rare find. I did happen to get an obsidian skin potion from a pot, so I mined as much hellstone as I could. After I done mining all of that, I went back home and I ended up with 409 hellstone. So now that means all we have to get is a bunch of obsidian. Now the way we did it was by doing the glitch that allows for infinite water buckets, and that allowed us to get it so much quicker. After this, we ended up going back home and then crafting a bunch of hellstone bars. Then we ended up crafting the pickaxe, the sword, and all of the armor. Then it was time to go craft the Knight's Edge. Alright, so now I think it's time we head over to the jungle and we get ready for the queen bee fight. Now my idea for this arena was to just kind of clear out the hive, but I had to be careful because I didn't want to expose or destroy the spawner, and if I destroyed it, then I would have had to restart completely because I wasn't able to fight him if I wasn't in a minecart. One thing I did find really nice, though, and convenient about building in this location with this hive was that there was a whole minecart track right above where I was building the arena. So I could just use that to my advantage and not build as much. And this is how the end product came out. Now, I didn't think it was too bad, but there's only one way to find out if it actually works. Now, the reason the time lapse is moving so fast is because this boss fight took me a total of 18 minutes. And for some reason, because I'm in the minecart and constantly moving around, this glitched out the queen bee. And now she's literally just doing the same exact thing, which is just flying in this circle. And it's nearly impossible to shoot her. And for some reason, the mini shark's only doing 1 to 2 damage. After defeating the queen bee, me and Zeke thought it was time that we decided to start building the minecart track for the wall of flesh. But first, we wanted to build a elevator to make our lives easier. Once we got down the hill, we found a nice chill spot, and then we started building our minecart track. After this, I wanted to see if I could make the star cannon, because it seems like the best weapon to use for this fight, and all I needed was some meteorite bars to get it finished. So I went down to the meteor, and I mined as much as I could. After mining all of that, we can now make the star cannon. Now hate me if you want, but I did use the chest glitch so that I could duplicate stars, so I didn't have to waste all my time getting stars. Now there's one more thing I needed to do before I fought the wall of flesh. Make a protein shake. And then I went and summoned the wall of flesh. After beating the wall of flesh, I headed back to the corruption so I could break some demon altars and summon some new ores into my world. Then I started by mining some cobalt, moving my way up to orichalcum, and then finally getting some adamantite. Then I crafted the adamantite forge, all the adamantite armor, and the drill. Then some pirates came by and just destroyed us for a little bit. One thing that we did manage to get from the pirates was a mechanical skull. Then I fought some wyverns so I could get some souls of flight, and then I went to the underground corruption so I could get some souls of night. These together allow me to craft the demon wings. Then I found a bee minecart, which is super useful because it is quite a bit faster than the regular minecart. Then I got to work on a minecart track that was going to be for Skeletron Prime. After this was all done, I decided to head over to the Hollowed and get the materials I needed to craft a Crystal Storm, as it's a really good book and I think it would be really good for some of the up and coming bosses. Then I decided to give Skeletron Prime a try. Then I went down mining and I found the Shimmer, and the Shimmer is really cool. We also found a chest down there, but it wasn't very good. Then I put my Heart Crystal in the Shimmer, and it gave me back a Vital Crystal, which allows me to have a permanent life regen boost. Then I decided the Queen Slime was probably going to be the easiest fight in hard mode, so I'm going to make that my first boss fight. And I decided to make two different tracks here, specifically because there's two different phases, one where Queen Slime is only on the ground and one when she is in the air. So I decided I was going to make a little system here where I kind of throw myself over her, and then one where I'm just kind of at the bottom. Then I decided I was going to terraform a little bit. I was going to get the ground like completely flat just so I could have a nice smooth plane to fight them on. My biggest issue in fighting the Queen Slime was these little blue slimes that kept shooting up these projectiles, and they just kept destroying me. So I had a good idea of just covering the whole bottom of the arena, since it was flat anyways, with some lava just to take care of those guys way easier, and I didn't have to deal with them as much. And then all of a sudden, Deer Clop showed up. Now, the beginning of this boss fight actually wasn't that bad, it just took forever. The lava did a perfect job at killing those blue slimes that shot the projectiles up at me, so all I had to really do was just kind of live it out and just make sure I did some damage to Queen Slime. Now, once she moves into her second stage, the slimes aren't really an issue anymore because they can't stand on the minecart rails, so they just can't stay up there with us. But for the rest of this, I literally just stayed at the top, switched the track over, and it was pretty smooth from there. Even though the queen slime fight was really difficult, we didn't get very much stuff from her. And since we got a mechanical worm earlier, I decided I was going to work on a boss arena for that fight. Now my whole goal here was to pretty much just throw dynamite down into the cobalt, and since it was cobalt, it wouldn't blow up, so I could just keep throwing dynamite and it wouldn't destroy any tiles. But it didn't really work. So I decided I was going to do the twins as the first boss because these other bosses were just way too hard right now. So what I did is I made a track that's literally just straight the whole way around, but on each end there's like a ramp that will shoot me up, that kind of will fling me over them, and this track actually works pretty well, but this took me a lot of attempts. So the strategy did end up working, it just took me a lot of attempts, but eventually it worked out. Next, I wanted to put up some new housing, so I decided I'd go for a little more of a modern look here that would just be super simplistic, yet kind of adds a lot to it. Then a solar eclipse happened, and we lost a ton of NPCs. No, he's killing all of them!
He literally just killed everything, guys. He's back. He wants them!
The mechanic dropped a combat wrench. After all that, I made the Super Star Shooter, which is going to be really helpful for these up-and-coming bosses. Now for the Skeletron fight, I decided to use the same exact track, except I mixed it up a little bit by adding some zigzags into it because Skeletron fighting with a long straight track just ain't gonna work. So let's give him a shot. One thing that was really nice during this fight was the fact that I had the hollowed armor on. This allowed me to take a couple hits without taking any damage at all. Another thing that was super nice was me using the mini-map as like full screen half opacity here, because it allowed me to see where Skeletron was when I actually couldn't see him on the screen. After killing Skeletron Prime, I kind of just flew right into fighting the Destroyer, and even though I didn't really change anything about the minecart setup, it worked. With all the mech bosses dead, I can finally make the minecart upgrade kit, which gives me this really fast minecart that goes over double the speed of any regular minecart. Then I crafted the True Knight's Edge, which is a pretty good upgrade from the Knight's Edge. And then we crafted the Drax, which is a really good drill that allows us to mine chlorophyte. Speaking of chlorophyte, I went down to the jungle and I got as much as I could because I needed to craft some essential things, like the True Excalibur and all of the chlorophyte armor. I also crafted the butterfly wings. Then I found a golden bunny. And I got him a nice cage. Then I went over to the jungle and I did a bunch of terraforming. I built a little farm so I can hopefully get some Plantera spawners right next to where I'm building the arena. And then I just blew up a ton of jungle to make the arena. Then I went back home and started building a dome above the house where I could put the hollowed desert in. That way I can get a pillar by the house so I can just teleport to the desert when I need to. Once I got back to the jungle, I saw that we had a Plantera spawner. Then I started constructing the minecart track. I found another spawner nearby, so I decided I'd use that one first and gave Plantera a shot. Ooh. So after losing to Plantera a couple times, I decided I need to expand my arena because I just didn't have enough room to fight him. After that was all done, I decided I want to make the Mega Shark because I think that would make the boss fight a little bit easier. So I went to the ocean and killed some sharks. Then I crafted the Mega Shark. Now it's time to take out this stupid plant. So I bought a drone. After defeating Plantera, I decided I want to go back to the dungeon and try and get some of the items from there because now it's the hard mode dungeon. One of the things that I got that was pretty cool right off the bat was a Spectre Staff, which is kind of like a staff that just shoots chlorophyte bullets. After that, I was pretty lucky to get a wisp in a bottle, which is pretty sweet just because it just provides me with some extra lighting. And then I was also pretty lucky enough to get a shadow beam staff, which is pretty sweet because it just shoots these beams that bounce off of walls and goes everywhere. Then I made the specter wings and made my way over to the jungle temple. Now it was pretty difficult making my way down the temple, but I did eventually get down there and have my first shot at Golem. But then he decided he didn't want to be there anymore.
Hey, disconnected.
Now making my way down into the jungle temple was just too difficult. It was taking me forever, so I decided I'd try and get my way around it. I tried using teleporters, but that didn't really work. But I had a big brain move coming. Having the pylon set up helped it so that I didn't have to go back through the temple, and I could just immediately start the boss fight when I needed to. Now this boss fight genuinely took me so many tries. I think about like 10 or 11 tries, and that's easily the most out of this entire playthrough of this game. Then I decided to farm the solar eclipse. Now the reason I was farming the solar eclipse is so I could fight Mothron, which has a chance to drop the broken hero sword. Yes! Yes! And with the broken hero sword, I can finally make the Terra blade. Yeah! So now I decided I wanted to make an above ground mushroom biome, so I started by making this little dome for it. Once that was all done, I decided I wanted to head back down to the underground glowing mushroom biome to try and catch some truffle worms so I could spawn Duke Fishron. Then I got working on my Duke Fishron arena. Then I gave him a go.
Hey! No! 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 Fuck! Shit!
Then I went through my magma stone into the shimmer and got back the lava charm. And with that, I can finally make the Terra Spark boots. After that, I went over to the dungeon and got ready to fight the lunatic cultist. Now that I'm done with the lunatic cultist, it's time to take out all these pillars. If you guys watched this video up until this point, thank you so much. This is my first video on this channel, and I hope it goes over pretty good. I put a lot of effort in this video, probably a month and a half time worth of work, and I really enjoyed making it. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helped me out a ton, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.